Alright. So I'm just going to start out by just doing a few poems. I figure I'll talk after a little bit. We're going to jump in back and forth a fair bit. Should be fun. I know a boy with a switchblade smile, so sharp his eyes bleed when he opens up. I know a boy with box cutter fingertips who can wrap anything in cardboard, address it to the ocean, and get it delivered before the next full moon. He'll tell you none of your regrets are heavy enough for a second stamp. Not when the undertow is pulling them back into the blackness of the deep water and some wordless sacrament is reading a catechism of forgiveness. I know a boy who makes the ordinary mythic. The mythic ordinary and everything in between, double dutch like that first girl you met that first day of first grade, the one who played those ropes like the shape of them was a divining rod. I know a boy who makes me find God. Or at least a God. Possibly a messenger, or possibly one of the minor Hindu deities, like the one who protects unexploded landmines. I know a boy whose hands are vials of mercury, who will shatter and run liquid metal at the slightest unexpected pressure. I know a boy who sets fires with ice picks, strikes them off flints like a shower of sparks might be enough to finally make him clean. I know a boy who can't sleep easy without 3 pieces of death in close proximity, cigarettes for a slower poison, white wine for the brightness of his hangovers, and a gun he reassembles every morning because he knows his nightmares have triggers, and triggers are for pulling, and if the linguistics professor he made out with once is right, metaphors are to reality as alarm clocks are to sunrise, which means his triggers can hollow point a pathway to oblivion. Every night he doesn't disassemble them into pieces before the pieces of him wake up. I know a boy who builds a death row from metaphors and sentences his confessions to the electric chair. He smiles my history into pieces small enough for me to swallow without choking. I know a boy who vomits mercury when I talk, who wears my face like a packet of dead letters he doesn't know how to address. I know a boy who can wrap anything in metaphor, address it to the ocean, and get it delivered before the next full moon, but will never tell you how utterly terrified he is of ever having to speak plainly.
Woo!
Now we'd be stunned.
Yeah.
Thank you. When you write me a love poem in winter, write you love me like tire chains love icy roads. There are mornings the slip and rock salt sweat inside my elbows grits your teeth frozen badlands Black Hills dawn. Says we are filling spaces that should belong to serious voice navigators, crumple mapping spirit while continental divide snowshoe hike ski lodge cider. They have more of everything that doesn't matter. Write to love me like fallen leaf loves snowplow. Say you'll still be here when spring turns sidewalk to riverbed. We will fold origami boats and float them Bermuda Triangle, sidewalk craft, whirlpool, blacktop, storm drain. Listen, right? You want to sink into me, but not to disappear. Right? You love me, urban legend, Ninja Turtle, dominoes falling, Leonardo da Vinci, flying machine. Right? You love me, impossible physics. Right hand, night sky, star grab, fist clench, black hole, frozen time travel. Right? You love me like Doc Brown loves lightning strikes, like the future. Right? You love the future. Right, choose your own adventure stories about snowmobile racing, avalanche hearts, and every branching path of pages your paper cut fingertips backflip open, ends with them holding my wrists, and my pulse steady. Right, that I make your tight ropes a mile wide, and your nets infinite, and your smiles an appropriate width for your inappropriately gorgeous face. Right, you love me like a question loves context, like how much weight will this glacier hold? Like, how wide is this crevasse? Right? You love me like the sharp end of a climbing axe loves a frozen wall and the weight of a body dangling from one hand. Right? You love me overhand till surface opens daybake. Your smile, the light diamonds spill on snow. Write me a love poem that spills difference between sleet and freezing rain. A cup of coffee I half melt, half sugar to wake up to. Write me a poem to wake up to and see you in. Better than I see myself in this one. Don't assembly line your snow forts. Don't mass-produce breath-carved hollows and refreezing shell of ice. Don't red fox pathway, flat temple road to the last Unfrozen water for a dozen miles. Don't kneel blank-faced Stepford abstraction before an abstract lover. Winter has a way of making all our silhouettes look similar. Love poems have a way of factory assembling emotions. When you write me a love poem in winter, write the way my ink tattoos the inside of your fingernails. And the tattoo says fireplace. And the mantle is a pair of lungs shaking from the cold, and the hickory crackling menthol cigarette burn of your breath spits away our imperfection, snowplow, origami, black hole, time travel together to keep us warm. For one more morning, and one more morning, and one more. There was a morning when I realized how deeply my fear had hurt my dearest friend. I had been terrified for 25 years. It is a strange thing to realize your shadow is a genealogy of fists. I have been trying to pry my smile into a shape that is not the brother of breaking flesh. It shatters like crystal every time. Even my tea leaves are sharp. I can find no future that is not jagged every time I pray. Fresh bruises turn my back into the tenderest part of me. I have sacrificed my gods to my knowledge of ghosts. I have knelt before 1,000 altars, and none of them has absolved me of myself. I have confessed 1,000 times, but every breath births a new sin. My prayers taste communion wafer stale. Stained glass windows cracked in the silhouette of a lover who left me for a truer prophet. All my visions look like broken hands. I have gathered enough scars that my knees begin begging before I do. Enough scars that my shoulders speak fear and power in the same careless lack of gesture. My body wears authority like a hyena wears a smile. My teeth are so sharp, and I cannot stop laughing at the smell of dying things. There are mornings I am wingless pigeon with useless broken wings, dragging my belly bloody down the sidewalk, and everyone observing still knows my gaze has teeth. Mornings I am afraid enough to wonder why strangers fear me. It is a strange thing to realize you are trigger and triggered both. A strange privilege when strangers think of violence as a thing you inflict rather than a thing that is inflicted on you. There was a morning I realized I was making myself into a fistful of broken glass, and everything I was would shatter bloody on an unswept floor. There was a year I was so afraid I tried to set fire to everything that was not blood. I held flame in my hands and realized I knew burn and scar as comfort. It is a strange privilege to have your terror bear so close a resemblance to rage. A stranger privilege to have your rage be so expected that all your friends but one congratulate you on its purity. It was a morning I realized how deeply my fear had hurt my dearest friend. I am so sorry. You told me it's only a shadow, and you cannot hate a shadow. Forgive me my genealogy, my gaze, my laughter. Forgive me the arrogant flesh of my realizations. Please.
Whoa.
You said you loved me like the last drink on Saturday night. But I made you feel like the designated driver for an ungrateful friend, so you left me on Sunday morning as I buttoned my shirt to hide the whiskey-scented claw marks you'd regifted. Corkscrewed broken bottle down staircase with the taste of me still red wine turning vinegar on your tongue, said I'd hear your voice again when I was sober enough to unslur your insults. Like I never knew how to hide the smell of grain alcohol when sunrise burned me sensitive. The night we met, you told me my sweat tasted like expensive vodka. So you bought me 3 martinis. Extra dirty. Like billboards for memories, we sentenced to 6 months of awkward silences and locked in solitary for the duration. Together is a funny word when your breath sets the fog to a soundtrack of peat fire, distilled hangover reminiscence like the night I woke up still drunk, wondering who the stranger was who'd stolen my lover's laugh lines and left a voice I couldn't recognize, smashing bottles with nothing growing in the shards. You told me I was beautiful, and I know you believed it. Every night your generous pores turned me impressionist, told me my circulation was impeccable when the drinks brought a blush to my skin. You told me I had nothing to be afraid of, with charcoal fingers that tasted sweet on my tongue, filled my belly to leach the poison out, drew me on wax paper like melting maybe wasn't such a bad thing. Did you know I still can't remember you anyway but blurry? Did you know I still can't remember your voice without wanting to rip my ears off and hand them to you? Garnished for drinks you'd never touch and couldn't stomach if you did. Did you know I still miss you? Every bar stool, your fingerprints on every surface but breathing. The night we met, you told me my sweat tasted like expensive vodka, so you put me on a shelf. Tried to make sunrise shine rainbows through me like I never looked best in shades of gray. You told me you loved me like the last drink on Saturday night. Did you know I still find you mixed with the ice at the bottom of every glass I empty? Told me I'd hear your voice again when I was sober enough to unslur your insults. Did you know the street lights still echo at every stagger of my midnights home? Did you know I still love you? Did you know I'm still losing you? Did you know I'm still too afraid of losing you to stop?
Woo!
That was a bunch of serious in a row. So, less serious for me. Footnote. After Allen Ginsberg and Gray Brian Thomas. You static-eyed children of streaming video, you are holy. Your idol clicks, taps, swipes, holy. The elements gathering sacred in new assemblages. There is more truth in you than every playlist ever compiled. Your genetic code, holy. When your touchpad bears the trace of helix, how can you say that you are anything less than sacrament? Your eyes twitching from window to window, holy. Your hands hovering, holy. Your confidence that erasing your browser history means your habits will never be collected, holy. Your lonely afternoons kneeling at the altar of terrible porn, holy. And every shaven seraphim twink pretending at ecstasy, every Lilith-voiced MILF hiding calculation between wide eyes as though there were a difference, holy. Your short attention span, your burnt offering twitch of confinement, your Adderall, your carefully ground and snorted pills, holy. Your 140 character invisible billboard myth-making, quick-fingered and rich with desperation to be blessed by the eyes of strangers, holy. Bless us, Father. We have forgotten when your touch was analog. Bless us, Mother. We have forgotten how to bear ourselves, and we are so heavy with the inconsequential and the sacred that our stories are spiraling our bones. Bless us, storytellers, prophets, quick-tongued oracles, podcasters, those who twerk in unexpected places. Bless us. You are holy, and we are holy, no matter how stiff our hips, how flat our asses. Miley Cyrus is holy. Kanye West's awkward white backup dancers are holy. Every frat boy who gets drunk and tries to shake it is holy. Holy the generic Viagra pop-up ad. The meet single girls in your area, the Overstock, the eBay, the Amazon, the before and after, the Photoshop, the spray tan. Holy the GIF. Holy the GIF. Holy the words nobody fucking knows how to pronounce. Holy the 56K modems, the prayer litany dial tone. Holy the eyes, bloodshot from glowing screens. The carpal tunnel syndrome. Holy the flamer, the troll, the gamer, the old woman forwarding rosary beads spam to her entire family. Holy Tumblr, Instagram, ghosts of social networking past. Holy the Friendster, the LinkedIn, the MySpace. Holy the Juno trial CD, the Netscape Navigator. Holy all the acronyms, neologisms, portmanteaus, emoticons, holy the GUI and the source code, the mother of us all. Holy the interface and the user. Bless us.
Yeah!
So that's the definition of terrible porn.
I think so.
That's great.
What Molly says is the definition of terrible porn.
7 synonyms for prayer. 1. I dreamed ink covered my left arm from the shoulder down. Traces of friendly needles speaking secrets on loudspeakers, gestures, bells adorned my knuckles. The gesture upside down, except when I looked at that which I knew best. When my alarm clock rang, I made a fist. Some mornings you want to walk quietly. 2. I met a fella sleeping in a riverbed. Using a boulder for a headboard to dream harder, he said there'd been water in his boots so long his feet swelled with the tides, and fresh-lunged creatures were crawling up his thighs and learning how to speak. He gave them names. Gave me one too, said it made him feel like God. 3. My father told me once that if I knew 7 synonyms for a thing, I could map its boundaries. The center of my terrain is still empty, but I know where the edges of my world are, and what names I can call it when I'm awake without falling. 4. The first time I saw someone speak in tongues, I was at church. I hear that's where these things usually happen. The room shook. There was so much dancing, wise men brought sweat instead of frankincense. Some days, prayer looks like loose hips in a darkened room with no music. Just a chorus of voices that could be God spilling from shaking bodies like sand through steepled fingers. 5. Some days, prayer looks exactly as safe as the space between my lover's belly and my bedroom wall. Some days, it looks exactly as dangerous. My childhood name was Beloved. Since I've grown, I go by a question. 6. My father was a preacher. When he left the church, he grew a full beard. It sprouted up red and unruly. I'm never sure if it made him look older or if his clean-shaven face was a link back to a childhood he thought he'd escaped. 7. Every time my parents write, their letters close with blessings for a version of me I struggle to recognize. I've covered my body with so many stories, I bleed ink when my mirror breaks. The wall behind it speaks with a blank face and its hands together, its feet in a riverbed. I can't make out the words, but I know they're names for something spun from boulders and fresh lungs. I open my hands, see gesture, smile, and map in equal measure steeple fingers, and watch the sand fall away.
Woo!
Doing all right?
Yeah.
Cool. So, as Gwen said earlier, I have a book. I figured I might actually read out of it for a poem or so.
Nice.
I have time for 2 more?
You actually have 12 minutes left if you want.
Sweet. That's awesome. Cool. There's benefits of going fast, right?
Take us where we've never been, man.
Whiplash, or 4 Notes on Contemporary American Masculinity. 1.
There you go.
So it's a Friday night at the Anarchist Co-op. A couple hours after the combination potluck dinner and bicycle repair workshop. And we're sitting on the porch, on the smoking couch, in the space we drilled into bedrock, smelling of chain grease and inevitable earthquakes. And he says, "Do you like to kiss boys?" And I say, and he says, "Do you want to go back to my room?" And my lips say nothing, but my legs answer in the affirmative. And he says, "Do you want to take your clothes off?" And my fingers tumble avalanche over shirt buttons, and we begin moving. And he says, "Can I call you a faggot?" And I'm run, avalanche, run, trigger, pull, away, run, clench fist, run, twist hips, run, pull, show him how sharp you can be, until my brain catches up to the rest of me and says, "He asked. He fucking asked." Weird. 2. Damn, Mike! Look at you all tall and shit. I almost forgot how big you were. Oh, Stretch Armstrong, oh, tall glass of milk, oh, big man looking like your daddy, oh, big shoulders, big hands, big feet. You know that last one's a euphemism, right? Look at you all dirty jokes. Like, did you hear that one about what would happen if men got pregnant? Drive-through abortion clinics on every corner. Fucking hilarious. Like, did you hear that one about a North Georgia virgin? That's a 10-year-old can run fast. Fucking hilarious. Look at you all pack of wild dogs in the back of the room with your teeth showing all. I almost forgot how big they were all. Cat calls to be heard over your own noise. You are always so damn loud. Even when you are silent, your body speaks volumes all. Reason girls walk home in packs all. Safety in numbers, all knives, all mace, all car keys through clenched fists. Look at the moon. All gray face and craters from mouths. Every word the echo of a collision, spear of dead rock, pulling water to it like if it could just pull hard enough, it'd bring itself back to life. Look at you, Mike. All desperate trimmer of bravado. All desperate and trimmer and bravado, so big in your desperation, I'd almost forgotten how big it was. 3. An open letter to the impeccably clad, but unfortunately unwashed gentleman who walked onto an otherwise unoccupied bus, took the seat directly behind mine, leaned forward, and your hair would look good clenched between my fingers. And to whom I probably should have responded with something snappy like, honey, I don't know how they do things where you're from, but I'm a southern boy and we like to be warmed up before you get to that nasty shit. And who was talking about my hair, but I know was thinking about the rest of me. I mean, I got legs that make mountain roads beg to be explored, curves that make them jealous, a smile that could turn Amy Winehouse into Kesha, abs that make men want to get on top of me, shoulders and chest strong enough to push them off, and enough scars that I look like I know what I'm doing. I do know what I'm doing, right? 4. Girl, you're pretty as a brand new whetstone. My body's a steak knife. Want to grind me sharp? Want to come back to mine? We'll talk shitty poetry and how much we hate that we miss our innocence. I got some new shit. Promises to make me forget I want to forget things. Won't leave me good for much except forgetting, but I figure that's the hardest part of me anyway. Want to dance? All the music in this bar sounds like bad sex. All my dancing looks like bad sex, which I figured might be close enough to a prophecy to come true. In the morning, I'll buy you coffee at the Shell station on the corner. It'll taste bitter. Burn the taste of me off your tongue. Let's do shots until we can't remember who we aren't. Go watch pretty girls, steal some of their fire, call them gods with volcano mouths. Come on down from the mountain and burn me in the shadow. We were only ever shadows anyway, right? Continents with big teeth, too scared to see our own reflections. You got eyes like a rusty mirror, girl. Wanna shine for me? Show me my smile back. Show me crow's feet and stubble. My morning's after. Let's go. Rock slide out before this avalanche of an evening can bury us. We'll sit under a bridge, smoke way too many cigarettes, and talk about our emotions. Let's do shots to our daddy issues before we bail. Whiskey's appropriate. Maybe some sugar to muddle the bitter.
Damn.
Woo!